Hello and welcome to Thrive, a wellbeing podcast for the students of Alexandra College.
Welcome to Breaking Gender Barriers in Sport. In this episode, we will be talking about unequal aspects of women and men's sport.
We are your hosts, Erin
and Tori.
And we are your producers, Clara
and Quiva.
We will be discussing a little bit on how we might be able to break these barriers and stereotypes in sports.
In sports, some people think that girls should only play certain games. This makes it hard for everyone to have the same chances to succeed in certain sports. But it's important for everyone to have a fair shot at enjoying sport.
We'll start by explaining the problem. Women often face unequal opportunities and obstacles in sports compared to men. They may not have the same access to facilities, equipment, coaching, or media coverage. The fan base of men's sports is way higher than women's sports. Like if you go to a stadium, the men's sports will always be fully booked out, but the women's might not be, which is why men get so much more money than women, which makes it really hard for women to make a living out of sports. Here are some of the stats of what men and women make in sports.
In rugby, men make up to 1 million, and women only make 34,000 per year.
In tennis, men average at 185,000 per year, while women only average at 22. This is a drastic difference considering tennis is one of the hardest sports.
In our society, certain sports are often labelled as boy sports or girl sports, based on our traditional gender stereotypes. Boy sports typically refer to the sports that are associated and dominated by males, while girl sports are considered more feminine and suitable for females. This classification can reinforce society's expectation and limit opportunities for people who do not conform to these gender norms in sports.
Some examples of sports that are typically classified as boy sports include rugby, football, and basketball. However, the reality is that sports do not have a gender. Anybody, regardless of their gender, is capable of participating in and excelling at any sport with proper training and support. By challenging these labels and promoting inclusivity in sports, we can create a more diverse athletic landscape.
I think one of the big ones for classified as men's sports would be rugby because it's quite aggressive and women and men usually think that it's more of a boys' sport because of the aggressiveness in it.
Gender stereotypes have a direct impact on sports affecting access, participation, and representation.
Gender biases in coaching, media coverage, and sponsorships can result in unequal representations and support for athletes.
These issues also affect athletic performance and career opportunities.
I know that my sister, who's 18, she's had a lot of her friends drop out of sport because they are being held up to the beauty standards, and they wanted to be tall and slim, but they just didn't want to be big like you have to be for a lot of sports.
Also, the beauty standard is kind of impossible because 1 minute it's you have to be tall, blonde and slim, and the next it's brunette, short and curvy. So it's kind of hard to fit yourself to those standards that are completely impossible.
Especially because they're changing so much. Now, because of social media, trends can go around much faster, so that means not as many all girls will be looking at doing things that will make them slim and curvy, but just not as big built.
Also, they drop out for lack of money, as men get twice as much as them for most sports.
There's not a lot of positivity. If you're swimming and you want to swim competitively, you're comparing yourself to the men and you realise that it might be you have to work 3 times harder and not even get to the same level.
I think a lot of women are also being told when they get to their junior cert or their leaving cert and they're doing sports and stuff, they're being told you need to focus on your studies and stuff, you're not going to make a lifetime out of a sport. Well, men, it's kind of all sports, that's their main sort of focus. I think also back in the 90s and stuff, it was very common for the women to stay at home and look after the children while the men would be out doing work and stuff. I think it's kind of like that now, except the men does sports and the women stays at home to look after the children. You wouldn't really hear it in a situation where the women does the sports and the men stays at home. I'd say another reason why a lot of girls drop out of sports is because it's kind of when you get into older years, if you're not top of your year, then it's kind of you're not really given as much attention and you're not really kind of as important, and then you kind of are told you're not going to really make it that far being a C or D player, so then you kind of just drop out of it.
By recognizing and addressing these barriers, we can create a more inclusive and equitable sports environment that benefits all athletes of all genders and identities.
It is important to actively challenge and break down gender barriers in sports to promote equity and inclusion. Supporting people of all genders to participate in any sport they choose helps to boost all of the sports industry and them as an athlete. Providing equal opportunities for training, coaching, and resources for everyone helps to level the playing field.
Talking about the importance of representations of female athletes in media and sponsorship deals can help increase the industry and show that it is possible. Introducing programs that promote inclusivity and diversity in sports organizations is essential in creating a welcome and supportive environment for all athletes. By working together to challenge gender norms, we can create a more equitable and empowering sports culture for everyone.
Also, women's sports is becoming much more progressive now when it comes to sports. Like, obviously 50 years ago there was no such thing as like a women's football team or well, there was, but it wasn't prioritized at all, and no one really would go to watch it. But it's getting more and more progressive. There's like proper women's teams in football and stuff, which a lot of people go to watch, and women are starting to make more of a lifetime out of a sport than they used to, say, 50 years ago. So we're kind of coming to the end of our podcast now, but the main message we want to get across is you can achieve anything that you want to. You can become the next Serena Williams in tennis or whatever you want, but as long as you try, you'll succeed.
And now we're going to leave you with a quote. My coach said that I run like a girl, and I said that if he ran a little faster, he could too.